I never thought I'd be the type of woman to say something so awful it would destroy my marriage in 10 seconds flat. But here we are. I'm Wendy, 34, and I just blew up my entire life with one stupid comment at my husband's birthday party. It happened so fast. 1 minute we're all standing around singing "Happy Birthday" to Dylan, and the next thing I know, I'm making some snarky comment about how he's lucky I didn't abort our kid. The look on everyone's faces. I swear you could hear a pin drop. Dylan just stared at me like he didn't even know who I was anymore, then silently picked up the entire cake and walked straight out the front door. Didn't say a word, just left. Our guests were horrified. His mom gasped so loud I thought she was going to pass out. My sister-in-law grabbed Sean, that's our 7-year-old, and took him outside. But honestly, can everyone stop acting like I'm the villain in this story? They have no idea what I've been dealing with for years. Dylan gets to be the hero dad who works his blue-collar job, comes home and plays catch with Sean, while I'm stuck balancing a demanding corporate job with being a mom. Nobody ever praises me for doing the bare minimum. After everyone left, which happened real quick, let me tell you, I just sat there on the couch staring at the empty space where the cake had been. Part of me wanted to call Dylan immediately and apologize, but a bigger part felt like, finally, I'd said what I'd been thinking for years. Not in the best way, obviously, but at least it was out there. Everyone's so quick to judge me without knowing our history. I met Dylan at my college roommate's housewarming party when I was 26. He wasn't even supposed to be there. He was filling in for another guy on the maintenance crew, finishing up some work in her building. Unlike the finance bros I usually dated, Dylan was refreshingly straightforward. No games, no pretense. The chemistry was intense. That all-consuming, can't-keep-your-hands-off-each-other kind of attraction that makes you lose all common sense. Within 6 months, we'd moved in together. Then came the bombshell. Just shy of our 1-year anniversary, I discovered I was pregnant. 2 missed pills during a hectic work week, and suddenly, my carefully planned life was completely derailed. I was on track for a promotion, had just started paying off my student loans, and children weren't even on my radar for at least another 5 years. I was absolutely terrified. When I finally worked up the courage to tell Dylan, I expected him to be just as shocked and overwhelmed as I was. Instead, his entire face lit up like I'd just given him the greatest gift in the world. "We have options," I told him later that night, trying to be rational. "We haven't been together that long. We're not financially ready. Maybe this isn't the right time." The look on his face, you'd think I'd suggested drowning puppies. That's when he revealed why children meant so much to him. Dylan had grown up in the foster care system after his birth parents abandoned him. 6 different homes by the time he was 10, never feeling like he belonged anywhere. He'd always promised himself that if he ever had kids, they'd never question whether they were wanted or loved. "This is my chance to have the family I never had," he said, his eyes pleading with me. "Please, Wendy, please don't take that away from me." What was I supposed to say to that? That my career goals trumped his emotional trauma? I felt completely trapped. Every time I brought up my concerns, he'd look so hurt that I'd end up feeling like a monster. So I gave in. I convinced myself it would all work out somehow. That Dylan would keep his promise to be a true partner in parenting. That I could still have the career I wanted while being a mother. Sean was born after a difficult pregnancy that left me with postpartum depression I never fully acknowledged. I tried to feel what I was supposed to feel, that rush of all-consuming maternal love, but mostly I felt overwhelmed and resentful. I looked at this tiny human who needed me constantly and saw the death of everything I'd worked for. Meanwhile, Dylan took to fatherhood like he was born for it. The years after Sean was born were a blur of sleep deprivation, daycare illnesses, and the slow death of any intimacy between Dylan and me. I went back to work when Sean was 4 months old, determined to prove I could handle everything. The reality was far less Instagram-worthy. I was constantly exhausted, rushing from meetings to make daycare pickup, pumping in bathroom stalls, and feeling like I was failing at everything. Meanwhile, Dylan seemed to effortlessly balance his job with fatherhood. "You work too much," Dylan would say whenever I missed one of Sean's milestones. as if I had a choice. When he left work early for Sean's doctor appointment, he was such a devoted dad. When I did the same, I was letting my family responsibilities affect my work performance. My breaking point came during my performance review, 3 years after Sean was born. I'd been working toward a senior position that would finally put my career back on track. I'd sacrificed weekends, worked late nights after Sean was asleep, and produced some of my best work. Then my boss, a man with a stay-at-home wife, naturally, told me they were giving the promotion to Amber instead. "We just feel Amber can commit to the travel requirements more fully," he explained, not quite meeting my eyes. "With your family situation." I came home that night and found Dylan and Sean building a Lego tower, laughing together on our living room floor. Something in me just shut down. I couldn't tell him about the promotion, couldn't bear to see the relief in his eyes that I wouldn't be traveling more. After that, I started sabotaging myself in ways I didn't even recognize. I'd forget important deadlines, then blame it on being distracted by Sean's school issues. I'd turn down networking events claiming Dylan couldn't handle bedtime alone, when the truth was, I hadn't even asked him. I'd internally seethe with resentment when colleagues got opportunities I wanted, never acknowledging that I hadn't actually pursued them. Our communication deteriorated into passive-aggressive comments and silent treatments. We stopped having real conversations and became experts at hurting each other in small, deniable ways. I started spending more time on social media, living vicariously through friends posting about promotions, travel, and freedom. Meanwhile, our credit card debt was slowly climbing as I tried to keep up appearances. Designer clothes for work, expensive haircuts, the right kind of birthday gifts for Sean's friends, all to prove I was succeeding at this life I never wanted. The week leading up to Dylan's birthday was particularly awful. It started with his text message, planning small get-together for my birthday Saturday. Just family and close friends. No discussion, just informing me that our house would be full of his family on the weekend. Last year, I'd forgotten his birthday entirely. I was in the middle of a major project at work, and he'd never let me forget it. Now he was planning his own party, like I couldn't be trusted to do even that right. I stopped at the mall after work and bought a dress I couldn't really afford from a boutique I had no business shopping at. When I finally got home with no groceries and a designer shopping bag, Dylan was less than thrilled. "We agreed to cut back on unnecessary spending," he said, eyeing the bag. "The credit card bill last month was ridiculous." That set me off. "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not allowed to buy myself something nice once in a while? Maybe if I didn't have to work and take care of a child and now plan your birthday party, I wouldn't need retail therapy." Sean appeared in the doorway, his eyes wide with concern. "Are you guys fighting again?" Dylan immediately switched to dad mode, all smiles and reassurance. "No, buddy, just grown-up talk." I watched them walk off to Sean's room together, thick as thieves, excluding me from their little bubble of father-son perfection. The next morning, I overheard Dylan's mother on the phone as she arranged to come early to help with the party since Wendy's so busy with work. The way she said it, like my job was some optional hobby I prioritized over family obligations, made me want to throw my coffee mug at the wall. Later, I overheard her telling Dylan's sister, "Dylan's such an amazing father, especially considering, well, you know how Wendy is with her work, always on that laptop. Sean's lucky to have at least one parent fully present." The day of the party arrived, and I was running on fumes. I'd spent the morning cleaning every inch of our already clean house, while Dylan took Sean to his Saturday morning soccer practice, another fun dad activity that left me with the chores. As I stood in our kitchen, frosting the cake I'd stayed up late baking from scratch, because store-bought wasn't good enough for Dylan's mother, I couldn't help wondering what my life would be like if I'd made a different choice 8 years ago. A parallel life, without the constant weight of guilt and compromise. The silence after my comment was deafening. Dylan stood frozen, the knife he'd been about to cut the cake with still in his hand. His eyes met mine across the room, and for a split second, I saw something break in them. Then, without a word, he set down the knife, picked up the entire cake, and walked out the front door. I noticed Dylan's cousin Amy quickly putting her phone down. Had she been recording the happy birthday moment? My stomach dropped. Elaine, Dylan's mother, was clutching her chest like she was having a heart attack. "How dare you say such a thing in front of Sean?" she whispered, her voice trembling with rage. I looked around for Sean and saw Dylan's sister hurrying him outside, her hand protectively covering his ear. The shame hit me then, a wave of nausea so strong I had to grab the back of a chair for support. Had Sean heard what I said? Did he understand what it meant? "I didn't mean it like that," I said weakly, but the words sounded hollow even to me. Because in some dark corner of my heart, I had meant it. Not that I didn't love Sean. I did, fiercely, but that I resented the circumstances of his birth, the choices that had been made for me rather than by me. One by one, the guests gathered their things and left. No one met my eyes. No one said goodbye. I texted Dylan immediately. "I'm sorry, that was horrible. Please come home so we can talk." No response. I called his cell. Straight to voicemail. By midnight, panic had replaced defensiveness. Finally, at 1 a.m., his brother Nate answered. "He's here," Nate said, his voice cold. "He doesn't want to talk to you right now." "Is Sean with you? Is Sean okay?" My heart was racing at the thought of my son hearing what I'd said. "Sean's fine. He's asleep. Dylan will bring him home tomorrow after lunch." The next morning, my phone blew up with notifications. Amy had indeed been recording, and the video of my outburst had made its way to Facebook. Not the entire party, just those crucial 30 seconds where I laughed and said, "Dylan was lucky I didn't abort our kid." Out of context, with no build-up, it looked even worse than it had in the moment. When Dylan dropped Sean off the next day, he wouldn't even come inside. He handed Sean his backpack at the door, kissed him on the head, and said he'd call him later. Sean ran past me to his room without a hug. "Dylan, please," I said, stepping onto the porch. "Can we talk about this?" "Not now." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I need some space to figure things out. Where are you staying? When are you coming home?" "I'm at Nate's for now. And I don't know, Wendy. I honestly don't know if I'm coming home." On day 4, I came home from the grocery store to find Dylan's car in the driveway. But when I walked in, I found him filling a suitcase with clothes and toiletries. "You're leaving?" My voice cracked on the question. Dylan didn't look up from his packing. "I've taken a leave of absence from work. Sean and I are going to stay with my parents for a while." "You can't take Sean from me," I protested, panic rising in my throat. Now he did look at me, his eyes harder than I'd ever seen them. "My lawyer thinks differently. Given the circumstances and the evidence of your feelings about motherhood, he's confident about arranging temporary custody while we sort this out." After he left, I found a business card on the kitchen counter. Dylan's lawyer. It was really happening. My marriage was ending, my child was being taken away, all because of 10 seconds of unfiltered truth at a birthday party. 3 months later, I barely recognized my life. Our house, once filled with the chaos of family living, was eerily quiet. Dylan and Sean were still staying with Dylan's parents. The divorce proceedings had begun, with Dylan pushing for primary custody. I was allowed supervised visits with Sean twice a week. Supervised like I was some kind of danger to my own child. The video had spread beyond our immediate circle, turning me into a local pariah. Parents at Sean's school would literally cross to the other side of the hallway to avoid me at pickup. My boss called me in for a concerned chat about my personal issues affecting workplace morale. I'd started seeing a therapist, not because I wanted to, but because my lawyer said it would look good for the custody hearing. Dr. Myers, the therapist, was a soft-spoken woman in her 50s who never seemed judgmental, even when I told her my darkest thoughts. The most painful part was seeing Sean during our supervised visits. During our 3rd visit, he asked me the question I'd been dreading. "Mommy, did you not want me to be born?" My heart shattered into a million pieces. "Of course I wanted you," I lied, pulling him into a hug. "I love you more than anything in the world." "Then why did you say that at Daddy's party?" His little face was so serious, so hurt. "Sometimes grown-ups say mean things when they're angry," I explained, smoothing his hair. "It doesn't mean they're true." The weekend before the custody hearing, I had my regular visit with Sean. We were at the park, the social worker keeping a discreet distance as we played on the swings. Sean had been quiet all morning, pushing rocks around with the toe of his sneaker. "Dad let me help him clean out the garage last weekend," he said finally. "That sounds fun," I said, though internally, I was rolling my eyes at Dylan's ability to turn even chores into bonding activities. "We found a box of your old stuff," Sean continued. "Dad got really quiet when he saw it." My stomach dropped. "What kind of stuff?" Sean looked up at me with innocent eyes. "Letters, I think. Dad wouldn't let me read them. He said they were private, but he seemed really sad." I froze, my mind racing through the possibilities. Then it hit me with the force of a physical blow. The journal. My college journal, where I documented my first pregnancy and abortion my sophomore year. A relationship no one knew about, a choice I'd made alone, long before I met Dylan. "Did Daddy say anything about the letters?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Sean shook his head. "Just that they were from before I was born. He told me you didn't know he had them, and that I shouldn't tell you." He looked down guiltily. "I'm not supposed to tell." The day before the custody hearing, I met with Dr. Myers for an emergency session. "I think Dylan found out about my abortion in college," I blurted out as soon as I sat down. "I never told him about it. Not once in our entire relationship." "And you never shared this with Dylan, even when you became pregnant with Sean and were considering termination?" I shook my head. It would have made everything worse. He already had this idealized vision of family because of his foster care background. If he knew I'd terminated a previous pregnancy, he would have seen me as someone who could do it again. Dr. Myers let the silence hang for a moment. "Do you think this discovery might have influenced how deeply your comment at the party hurt him?" The realization hit me like a physical blow. Of course it did. He probably thought I was throwing it in his face, that I'd done it before, and would have done it again with Sean if he hadn't convinced me otherwise. The next morning, before the hearing, I asked to speak with Dylan privately. We met at a coffee shop, sitting across from each other like strangers. He looked tired, with new lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 3 months ago. "I know about the journal," I said quietly. "Sean mentioned you found some old letters." His jaw tightened. "I wasn't going to bring it up in court. It's not relevant to the current situation." "Why are you bringing this up now, Wendy? What's your angle?" The question hurt, but I deserved it. "No angle. Just clarity. I want you to know that I understand why what I said hurt you so deeply. It wasn't just a cruel hypothetical. It was connected to something real that I kept from you." Dylan looked out the window. "I found the journal 2 years ago," he said finally. "We were packing for the move, and it fell out of an old textbook." I gasped. 2 years? You've known for 2 years and never said anything?" He shrugged. "What was there to say? It happened before we met. You had every right to make that choice, and you had every right not to tell me about it. But it must have changed how you saw me. It made some things clearer." His eyes met mine again. "Your reluctance to have Sean. Your distance afterward. I kept thinking you'd eventually bond with him the way I did, that you just needed time. But that journal, it helped me understand that motherhood was never what you wanted." "Not really." "I've been thinking about custody," I said finally. "And I'd like to propose something different than what our lawyers have been fighting over. I think you should have primary physical custody of Sean." The words were difficult to say, but also liberating. "You're a wonderful father, Dylan. The kind of parent every kid deserves. I'm not there yet, and pretending otherwise isn't helping anyone, especially Sean. Regular visitation for me, unsupervised. Every other weekend, 1 weeknight dinner, half the holidays. I'll pay child support. I'll stay involved in his life and his school. But you'd be his home base." Why the change of heart? I took a deep breath. Because I'm trying to be honest. With you, with Sean, and with myself. I do love our son. But you love being a father, in a way I've never loved being a mother. Sean deserves to be with the parent who isn't constantly fighting against the role. 2 weeks later, I helped Sean pack his things for the move to the new apartment Dylan had rented. Sean was excited about his new room and the playground nearby, chattering as I folded his clothes and tucked them into suitcases. "Will you come visit me a lot?" he asked, his eyes serious. "All the time," I promised, smoothing his hair. "And you'll come stay with me too. We'll have special Mommy Sean days. After Dylan picked him up, I walked through the quiet house, running my fingers over Sean's growth marks on the kitchen doorframe. I thought about the birthday party 3 months ago, how in a moment of frustrated truth-telling, I'd blown up my life. People would say I lost everything because of that comment: my husband, my son, my reputation. But sitting alone in my living room, I wondered if perhaps I'd gained something too. The freedom to stop pretending. The chance to define motherhood on my own terms. I'd like to say I had some profound epiphany, that I suddenly realized the error of my ways and transformed into Mother of the Year. But that would be just another kind of lie. The truth was messier. I was still the woman who had resented motherhood, who had said something unforgivable, who had kept secrets that mattered. But I was also a woman finally facing her reality, no longer living in the shadow of what might have been. Dylan texted me a photo that evening, Sean in his new bedroom, grinning as he arranged his stuffed animals on his bed. "All settled in," the caption read. "Thanks for sharing," I texted back. "He looks happy." "He is," Dylan replied. After a moment, another message. "Are you okay?" I looked around the empty house, considering the question. Was I okay? No, not yet. But maybe I would be. Eventually. Not as the mother I'd failed to become, but as the person I actually was. "Getting there," I texted back, "one day at a time."